Welcome to the podcast. Today we have Liv.
Hello.
Is it Liv Jones?
Yeah.
That's such an English name, that, isn't it?
Do you think?
Liv Jones.
Liv Jones.
Liv is one of our clients and has actually quite a normal niche, but a very particular way of marketing to them. So what we're going to do is we're going to dive into how Liv started in the PT industry, how she got into online coaching, talk about some particular struggles that she's had with managing an online business. And then we're going to get into the nice bits, which is the success today. So talk us through your start in fitness. What got you started in wanting to be a PT or getting into the fitness industry?
I'd always been in sport. So when I was 5, I started gymnastics and just very quickly got put into an elite team. Like, not to, kiss my own ass, but...
They just put me with all the top people.
what can I say? So I did that until I was about 12, and it's brutal. It's really, looking back, it's so toxic. Well,
gymnastics is one of those like elite Olympic sports that everyone hangs the hopes on us getting a medal in, right? So I'm assuming the pressure's huge.
I mean, the things that I used to, if I cried, they'd pull out a bench in front of the mirror and tell me to sit down and watch myself cry. And I was 7 years old. And we'd go on international competitions, and my parents would pack sweets into my suitcase and we'd go in and hide them under the mattress so that our coaches couldn't find them. So it was quite brutal, but I couldn't have imagined anything else. Then when I hit about 12 years old, I'd done that for 7 years, trained between 20 and 30 hours a week. I had no childhood in the sense of birthday parties were a no. I couldn't ice skate. I couldn't do anything where I might be able to get injured or anything. And I just had a really big, essentially falling out with my coaches, and enough was enough. And that's when I transitioned into highboard diving, which is basically the same, but you land on your head. So
similar skill set, innit?
Yeah,
same. They do that with kids at that level of sport, though, don't they? You're not going to be a runner. Have you ever thought about doing bobsled? And they're like, no. And they're like, well, basically, if you're really quick, you can push the bobsled really, really fast. So you might as well just do that instead.
It was literally such an easy transition because I went in at 12 years old, which actually
quite late
late
for diving.
Yeah, I was in high school. Yeah, I could swim, but you only have to swim to the side, innit? You can just doggy paddle there.
Did anyone check if she could swim?
Yeah. Can you imagine?
Get her out.
But no, it was the easiest transition really, and it meant that I could progress quite quickly. I did that for 5 years and again took it to quite a high level. And essentially, I pretty much got told indirectly but directly that if I didn't lose weight, I weren't going to get picked for Team GB because as a platform diver, I was I'm quite short. Yeah. I'm quite built for someone my height, and that's not the look.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I've fallen out of love with this.
You know what? There's an argument to be made there, though, isn't there? Did it affect you diving?
In my opinion, no.
Yeah.
I was told that I would hurt my wrists, etc., if I carried on. But I looked back at pictures, funnily enough, literally the other day, and I was like, are you actually taking the piss? There's this one white swimsuit that I always remember I got for my birthday. And I came in, my coach was like, don't wear that. I don't want you to wear that because white makes you look fat. You need to wear a black swimsuit.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's toxic as well.
Yeah.
Because there's certain things within sport. I think sport's one of those things that a lot of kids could do. Should do. Because I feel like at some point you get given a very adult lesson. If you're half good at sport, at some point, unless you fucking make it all the way, someone sits you down and goes, whatever you do, you will not be good enough at doing this sport. I got sat down when I used to love basketball, but sat down when I was in year 9, and they were like, you're never going to play for any kind of, actual top end team because you're just too short to play. And they literally there was this kid stood there and he went, I can teach him to play basketball, but I can't teach you to be as tall as him. And I was like, wow. And I remember when I went out in my back garden and I shot 100 free throws every day for the next 3 weeks. I was like, if I can fucking shoot really well, they're just going to let me back in. There's no way. Never did.
No.
And I think at that point you just learn that sometimes
it's political, isn't it, as well? Like,
no, I was fucking really short.
Oh, you were okay? Fairs.
It's 5'2". I was never going to make it in the
No.
NBA. But yeah, I think, you know, sometimes with certain sports, I think it is important sometimes for kids to be like, you know, get told, try and like fail almost.
Yeah.
The problem is with the diving stuff is that it's centered around like certain things. Like if you're a kid and you get told like you're not fast enough or you're not tall enough or, you know, you don't have a long enough reach, say for boxing or something like that, you can't obsess about it into your adult life.
Yeah.
The problem with things like diving and, you know, my partner's a dancer, like things like dancing and gymnastics, when they focus on your weight and your shape, I think that's something that people can take with them.
Yeah.
I think a lot.
100%. I think maybe I did more than I realised. Like gymnastics and diving as sports and as how you get picked from competitions, it is very political. And it's almost like if you're not in there with the right coach and the right crowd and the right people and you don't know, you know, you've got those links, you're not going to get as far as you want because there'll always be someone sliding in.
Yeah.
And that was the nature of it.
I feel like that's just sport top to bottom, to be honest with you. It's really is one of those
It's savage.
Things. Yeah.
It really is savage. But I then quit. Funnily enough, went into cheerleading. Team sports were not for me because...
That's another, there seems to be a pattern here though, because that's another sport that's very heavily based on
Gymnastics
how you look
based.
and your weight. And
yeah,
I get there's certain physical elements to it. Like if you're 85 kilo, you're probably not going to get thrown up in the air by people.
Yeah,
it would make sense not to do that. But you seem to love cherry picking the sports that actually...
Apparently so. Yeah. Apparently so. But that was like, when I say short-lived, 6 months, then I injured myself, ended up having to have knee surgery, etc. And that just basically threw me out. Like I was on crutches for 1.5 years with skinny little legs.
Oh, that kind of level, there's no coming back from that.
No, it was like your goals are to be able to walk downstairs properly again for now.
Yeah.
So
I feel you on that one.
Yeah.
I feel you on that one.
It
How did you handle that? How old were you at that point?
17.
Okay. And your whole life has pretty much been built up to being an elite athlete?
Yeah.
How did you handle that change then? Was it an abrupt injury as well?
Yeah, I literally I landed a twisting somersault thing. I'm not going to...
No, but it wasn't like, sometimes it can be like a niggly thing and then you feel yourself being a step off the pace and you can almost
like
feel it coming.
Half.
Yeah.
Like it was a, you know, one of those vibes.
So that was an overnight, your career's gone?
Yeah, done. Like, that's it.
That's hard at 17.
Yeah. And I'd given up my entire life. Like nothing, I didn't do anything. I didn't socialise. I was never at sleepovers or anything like that. No. So initially it was hard, but I think I actually came to terms with it quite quickly and my body and brain had a lot to catch up on and I quite liked the rest and the recovery. But then it meant that all I had for myself, I was no longer the gymnast. I was no longer the diver. And I was like, well, I actually don't even know what I am without them. Yeah. I wasn't that academic. Like I was all right.
But your identity had always been being an athlete.
Yeah, like it was always, live the diver, live the gymnast. And then it was like, oh yeah, the one on crutches. Like, oh yeah, sound, thanks. That's really good.
Yeah. So I got that one, obviously, because I spent quite a lot of time with my legs in knee braces. Like people were like, oh, are you the guy with the braces? And I'm like, fucking brilliant.
Great.
Cheers. So. People still do it now, you know, like if I see people out and about in town, like, how's your knee? And I'm like, fucking hell.
In my levers book in year 13, so at the end of A levels, most remembered for going to Reading on crutches. And I'm like, are you actually joking? This is what I'm remembered for, is going to festivals on crutches. Like, is there nothing better that you can think of for me? But you just roll with it, I guess.
So what was your transition out of that then into, well, what did you do next?
Didn't even write a personal statement for uni because, to be honest, the only way I would have gone to uni is if I was going to do a sports scholarship with diving over in the US. I hadn't thought of anything else. Yeah. And I was like, oh, well, I don't really want to, I didn't know what I wanted to do. There was nothing that I loved enough. My parents both did medicine and they were basically like,
wow,
it's stressful. We would never wish that upon you or anyone. So no pressure, like you do whatever you want. I pretty much just worked in Sainsbury's for a year, did a little like marketing, business, fashion diploma, went into a graduate job at like a fashion company, 6 months, and then COVID
Okay,
hit.
so you did do some kind of postgraduate education route?
For a year, yeah. I went because I tried to apply for apprenticeships. I thought I wanted to do marketing, to be honest. Like, I don't think I did. I think I was just trying to be...
Did you know what marketing was at that point?
Probably not.
I feel like a lot of people go in to do marketing and they're like,
yeah, I didn't
oh my
have a
God,
clue.
there's loads of shit in here that I didn't realise I had to do.
Oh, well, I didn't know anything. I just looked on LinkedIn and, you know, did the whole, oh yeah, apply, woohoo, sort of job.
That pays well.
Yeah, that looks nice. Like, that's great. But everywhere wanted experience. And because of my diving gymnastics, I did not have a lot of experience in the real world as per se under my belt. Yeah. So I was lacking a lot in that, which is why I then went on to do that year, just got like a level 3 or 4. I don't really know what they are.
I don't know what the rank has now.
No,
I've been out of education too long.
I don't know, but I did like a 1-year thing.
5, I think.
Possibly.
Could be wrong.
I don't even know.
Go on.
I'd have to have a look. And yeah, ended up going into a desk job. Luckily, I think it was only 6 months because of COVID, but I look back and I think that weren't me. Not once was I truly myself. That was not my vibe. Like, at the end of every day, I didn't come home buzzing about it at all.
Do you think you maybe... Do you know when people have like a shit relationship, right? And they have like a type?
Yeah.
And then the person that they get with after they have the shit relationship is the complete opposite of their type. And you're like, what the fuck are you doing there? And they're clearly trying to get the furthest distance possible away from their ex.
Yeah.
I feel like you kind of did that with sport
100%.
a little bit.
I think I needed it.
I'm going to go into a desk-bound,
I know,
like education-based role.
Yeah.
Because you had all that kind of toxic shit from...
Yeah. And I think where it was so obvious, really.
It's like a rebound. It's like a life rebound.
It's like, you know, when you kind of rebel against your parents if they've not let you go out and that. It was literally like that. But it was so obvious that I should have been a coach. I should have gone into that side of the world as such. But I wanted to socialise, actually. I think that's what it was. I wanted to go out and get pissed every weekend. And I wanted to have that London lifestyle where you work 9 to 5 and go out with your friends at the weekend and all of that. But it just gave me nothing. And there was not one time that I thought, wow, I really want to progress in this role.
Yeah.
Like, this is amazing. So COVID was actually a blessing for me. Otherwise, I don't know if I ever would have left. I just would have done a job that I was like, nah.
Okay, so talk us through then. So did you get qualified in COVID?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got put on furlough. And I suddenly thought, oh my God, like, my job right now is at the dispense of someone else. No one is safe. No one is secure. I've got no control of that. And I had so much time on my hands. I'm a busybody. I like to be doing things, and suddenly everything's gone. My parents were still working because they were in the NHS. They had to. And it was just pretty much me and my sister at home. And I was like, if I'm going to do anything, I'm going to get a PT qualification because I do love it. Mm-hmm. I do love fitness. I love sport. I can't not do anything else. I'm not going to do an eyelash extension course. That weren't me. So yeah, pretty much just went PT qualification, did it all online. So all of my qualification was on
6
Zoom.
Weeks, the qualified things.
Yeah. And then joined.
They get the job done. I think they're all quite shit anyway. So like, not the companies that run them, but like the stuff inside them are pretty fucking shit. It's just knee bone connected to the...
Literally.
I don't know why I'm doing this with my elbow. Like I'm a fitness professional here. But it is very like, it's just anatomy based. It's like basic, it's like A-level biology, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, it was good. Do you know what I mean? I got it done. By the end of summer, I was qualified. And then I went to work in a gym in the October of 2020. So that was
That's
my
just
first
before
job.
lockdown, right?
No, that was just after lockdown 1.
Yeah, I get the dates mixed up.
Yeah.
I'm like, have you gone to a gym in lockdown? Right, so it opened back up. You got a job in the gym.
Yeah.
Shut again.
Yeah, I was there for 4 weeks before it shut.
Nice.
Yeah. But this time, because of the gym that I worked at, I was employed.
Oh, fuck off.
Yeah, I was employed.
Oh, you smashed that one, didn't you?
Yeah. So it was, in that sense, it was great.
Well, I would think it was fucking great if you're getting paid after being there for 4 weeks.
I had no clients, did I? Like, I was just on shift.
They paid you?
Yeah, because I was meant to be on shift. So I was just...
Snake.
Honestly. It was obviously good. And
Hey, listen, at that point, you'd have fucking took it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, 100%. But because of the way that the system works in that company, I couldn't get clients outside, and I was new. Like, I was a bit of a wuss. I was never going to just try and do it behind closed doors. So it was only really I started properly coaching as of, what was it, like March, April, then when we come out, I don't know, 2021.
I can't even remember anymore, but yeah, It was around that time. It was like 2 years afterwards, weren't it?
Yeah, and so that's when I was in a gym.
You went straight into the gym at that point?
Yeah.
How did that go?
Good. Like, it was, I have nothing bad to say about the place, but I knew that I wanted something more. While I was wearing that branding on the t-shirt, I was not my own business by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, what about it didn't you like?
I was working 32 hours gym floor, basically just having to stand there on the gym floor. And I was getting my own clients. Yes, they were coming through the club, but I was limited to that pool of people. It was only people who came through those doors who I could train.
Did they hand them to you, or did you have to still? Okay, so there's some element of work involved for you to actually get the client.
Yeah, and that went well, and I worked hard. Like, I'm a hard worker, so I got a good client base, and I was working at one point 32 hours gym floor, and then doing like 20 to 30 hours PT on top of it. I'd have every other weekend off. Yeah. But other than that, I was working every day.
It's not real work, though. It's not the same as bricklaying.
It's not, no.
As everyone will tell you.
It's not hard.
Just before anyone jumps in.
Of course. So, yeah, and I remember sitting down with my manager at one point, and he was like, you're on such a good path. You could be making 40, 50K a year doing 20 hours of PT and 20 hours gym floor. And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. Like, wow, can you imagine making that kind of money, coming home, being like, oh my God, this is unreal. But I think something niggled in my head that it just wasn't enough. I wasn't getting enough satisfaction. I couldn't provide what I wanted to provide whilst I was wearing another company's brand. Like, that just didn't sit right with me.
Okay.
I wanted to be my own business and be my own person and have my own tribe as such. And I didn't feel like I could get that there.
No, that's normal. That's how people become business owners, I think. There's nothing wrong with working for people either. There's nothing wrong for working in a brand, working in another company.
Yeah.
But when the company doesn't exactly align with what you want to do,
like,
I've built a company out of people that were all self-employed.
Yeah.
Every single one of my staff were self-employed before they worked for us. But I appreciate the fact that when, if it's a commercial gym and they're working with certain people and, it's very corporate, it's not the kind of position that you don't get excited to be a part of it as much. You're almost a bit resentful of the kind of the red tape and the rules they put on you and stuff.
Yeah, and I think where, for me, and even with like what Collective do, etc., it's very value, right? Like, I will do anything for my team. I monthly calls, meetups, things like that. And that does add value to your service. It does. Like, you can charge more for that stuff. Whereas whilst I was there, it was X amount per session, but I was delivering more, and I was giving them the app and I was giving them this and that, but I was still getting like probably £15, maximum £20 an hour of PT I was doing, and they were paying between 40 and 50.
Yeah.
So that's where I got to.
That's clear to me when somebody needs to have their own business. Because I used to think like that. I'm like, and probably speaks to kind of the mindset I was when I was like 17 or 18. But when I'd work in a normal job like Tesco's or something like that, I'd be like, I'm going to get paid £5 an hour, whether I fucking stack that milk as hard as I can and do the best job, or whether I do fuck all and do just enough to not get sacked.
Yeah.
The upside for me was like, well, to be fair, I knew I wasn't going to stay there because I was in college and uni at the time. But like, I guess people work hard because they want a promotion, right? If you don't see yourself being in that business, or that promotion is like, you could be earning 50 grand a year in 10 years. Yeah. You're almost a bit like, fucking, it's not worth putting all the extra effort in right now.
No. And I was such a yes person. I always have been someone who wants to show that I'm the hardest worker. So I would drop drop anything. If they needed me, I'd be like, yeah, I'll cover that. I'll do this, I'll do that. And I started thinking, actually, no, I'm getting walked all over, I think. I'm letting myself get walked over.
There's just no balance with it either. Like they're getting a massive
No.
upside of you killing yourself, but you don't really see any benefit from it.
Yeah. And I think it just clicked. And it's funny, I was having a conversation the other day with someone and I was like, I didn't become a PT because I wanted to be a business owner. It's just become something that's happened because I'm a coach and because I'm a PT. Quite easily, that could never have happened.
I think it just depends on like the kind of things that you put value on and the way that you want to work and how strong your ideas are. Like if you have extremely strong opinions and strong values about something, you either need to be in a position where those opinions and values will be heard and acted on, or you're just going to go do it yourself.
Yeah.
Like they're the only two steps. Like that's how I make sure we have good talent in the company and people don't go off on their own, is because when people are those kind of people, we have to make sure that we give them a platform to be able to affect change.
Yeah.
Because if they can't, then they just feel like trapped by the role and then they're like, well, fuck it, I'm going to go do something else. And that's why I think, you know, a lot of the industries, a lot of people branching off trying to do their own thing because nobody ever gives them the opportunity to express themselves.
Yeah.
That's the problem with PT, I think, is one of the issues, is that people try and clamp down on certain things too much and they have very strong opinions and they're not open to thinking about things.
100%. I think that's probably the thing that sparked it for me. I just had a light bulb moment. I had a photo shoot and the photographer basically said to me, you don't want it enough if you don't hand in your resignation tomorrow. And I literally went home.
What a photographer. Life-changing.
I know, yeah, I know.
More than
and
photos.
I literally I went home. I live at home with my parents. I pay my way. Do you know what I mean? I do my own bills and all that. But I basically went home and I didn't give an option. I said, I'm handing in my notice tomorrow. Don't talk to me about it. Don't tell me your opinion about it. I'm doing it. I just need to get it done. Had no home studio built at that point. I just basically handed it in and thought, oh shit, 4 weeks time I'm out.
I feel like there's a story behind you having to go home and lay down the law at that kind of level about you handing your notice in.
In what aspect?
Like, why did you feel like you needed to be that strong with your parents of like, don't talk to me, don't tell me out of it? Like, do you feel like they would have tried to talk you out of it and get you to stay in the job?
There's always the security aspect. And I think I had gone so far from working a 9-to-5 job, you know, none of us have gone to uni. My brother's a plumber, all that, but when you're in a secure job and you know that you're getting paid at the end of each month, maybe you do take your foot off the gas a little bit. And I like that pressure. I like if you don't work for it, you're not getting it. But I know that if I'd gone home, I think my parents might have panicked a little bit and been like, oh my God, like, are you sure this is a good idea? Are you sure this? Are you sure? And I just needed to do it.
Yeah, well, to be fair, they're both in medicine, right? So like you come out of university with a medicine degree.
You can get a job.
You might have to do like a couple of years as a junior doctor and like get shot on a little bit, which is fair enough. But like you will be hired immediately because there's such a massive shortage. They're never going to be without a job. They're never going to sit there wondering whether they're going to get paid at the end of the month. Might be an argument that they should get paid more. They might not be paid what they're worth, but they're going to sit there and that paycheck's coming in regardless in a job like that. Yeah.
I don't think they ever expected it from me either. I never expected it from myself, actually. Even though I knew I wanted more, I didn't know what that was going to look like ultimately. So it was a bit of it was a great decision, absolutely, but it was I'm doing it right now. I'm going to print it off and I'm going to go into I wasn't even on shift. I was like, I'm going to go down to the gym and talk to my manager and just do it.
Yeah.
And best decision that I ever
What was
made.
the manager like? Did they give you hey, you know, like it's a good opportunity here. You're earning good money. This is what you could be for.
He weren't surprised.
Really?
No,
because I feel sometimes like in situations like that, they almost try and give you the big bad wolf story about running your own business. Like, well, you know, I know loads of people that did that and then they ended up, you know, going and working in Greg's and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think he'd kind of seen it coming because I'd actually spoken with him about the fact that I wanted to build my own studio at some point. Without sort of patting myself on the back, I was the most proactive PT there. I was the youngest and I was the most proactive at the time, like 100%. I would be going out, putting posters up on the back of the toilets, which no one did up until that point, and really trying to make my presence known. So I think he could see that I was taking these kind of like this business mindset on. And he was like, you know what? Good for you. You know, just if that's what you want to do and you're happy, go for it. So that's what I did.
So then what was the next step? Because now you're self-employed, right? So what did you do now?
Shut myself.
Yeah. After that, after you cleaned up.
Luckily, I actually kept a couple. Well, I say I kept a couple. I only had one drop off in terms of my clients from the gym that I was working at.
Non-solicited though, right? They all contacted you first.
Yeah.
Nod.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sound. Carry
on.
Just saving some lawsuits here. Yeah, don't worry about me.
They all come with me. And
where did you go? To like a private gym?
So, you're going to be like, you're so sorry. I built a studio in my garden.
Did you? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just like a little wooden,
nice don't talk it place. Down. If your garden's big enough to have a gym in it, like just own it.
You know what? Like we were having the garden done at the time, and I was like, look, come on, for Christmas, please. All I'm asking for is permission.
All I'm planning permission.
I just want permission to do it. Like, I'm not asking for money. I just want you to turn around and say, yes, Liv, like you can do this.
Yeah.
So we did. We built a studio, and it was like still a month down the line. I was leaving.
What was the outlay into the studio? Do you remember?
What does that mean?
Like what was the cost of building that studio?
Probably 10 to 20K, I guess.
Fuck.
I don't really know.
I'm assuming your parents did it, right?
Yeah.
How did you convince them to sink 10 to 20,000 pound into building a PT studio?
Because I asked if I can use the garage and my dad said no because his moped was in there. I begged.
You've turned such a Surrey issue into such a North Manchester issue in about 3 seconds. His ped was in there. So
he said no. He was like, my moped's in there. You're not having the garage? I thought, well, I can I'll build you a shed to put your moped in if that's the issue. And I don't really know how it happened, but I'm not going to lie. Like a few tears were shed on my part because I felt really hard done by. But I ended up being able to work my way.
I would have felt hard done by if my parents didn't sink 10 grand
well, no,
into a
for
shed.
the garage.
Sorry, for the garage.
Yeah, for the garage.
So in typical Surrey fashion, instead of just selling the moped and giving you the garage, somewhere between 10 and 20 grand on a bespoke gym studio in the garden.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, fucking take what you've got, right? What are you going to do? Say no?
I know that I'm very fortunate. Like I'm not.
But you're not going to say no, are you?
No, it was a huge opportunity for me, and I wouldn't be where I am now if my parents didn't support me in that way.
I also don't think your parents were fucking stupid though. Like it's not like they've looked at that and gone, fuck it, we'll just throw 20 grand at it and just see if she shuts up. Like they must have obviously believed that it was the right move for you to do. I doubt very much that your parents had a spare 20 grand sat there that just thought they'll throw out a pipe dream just to shut you up at Christmas.
I mean, to be completely honest, when I first asked them, I told them that I was going to stay at Nuffield, which is where I was working, and I would be like, oh, I'm going to have the studio, and then maybe as time goes on, like I'll start sort of, mixing and matching. But obviously I then completely changed my mind and went, no, I'm going to get rid of my secure employment and just do this. And that's why I think I probably was a little bit unsure about letting them have much of an opinion on it when I first went to hand in my notice.
Had they agreed to the studio at this point?
Yeah.
Right, so that's why you've had to go home and gone, I don't want to fucking hear shit about it.
Yeah,
and I know that you're thinking, trust me. So, yeah, I mean, I still work in the studio. I still do face-to-face because I absolutely love it. And you fucking spent 20 grand on it.
And spent enough money on it. It's nearly been a year since I handed in my notice.
Yeah, you've got at least 2 more years that you've got to spend in that fucking shed yet before you can stop bringing people in there.
I love it though. Like, I really do love it.
You better do, because there's no way your mum and dad have fucking spent 20 grand on that for you to sack it off in less than 12 months. Just use it for like social media. Actually, all I needed was a fucking laptop. All I needed was a laptop.
No, I do love it though, and I think with my client base who are face-to-face, I do work with a slightly different audience in that respect.
I think it's good for you anyway. How old are you?
24.
I think being 24 years old, being sat in your room doing all of your work for a laptop is difficult.
Yeah.
Difficult. And it says like in your notes that, you know, you kind of have OCD tendencies and anxiety and things like that as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, probably not things that you want to bottle up in a bedroom for 9 hours a day.
No, not really. I mean, I've got quite a good hold of that now, probably because I'm medicated. So I'm
Always
kind
helps.
of like, you know, feel like I'm high on kites all the time. But at the time, I was doing face-to-face, and it was nice for me to be able to get away and get out, because whilst I was coaching for that hour, I wasn't just crippled by the food, the OCD, the anxiety, and I could just focus on someone else and hear someone else's problems. I know that sounds really hard, but like I almost wanted to hear other people so that I felt a little bit better about my own.
Mm-hmm.
And it helped. Now I'm better with it. I can manage it better. Like I had therapy every week for about 1.5 years, and it's only recently that I've sort of logged on and been like, oh, I don't really have much to tell you because I haven't had many issues this week.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's nice.
How was that then? Obviously, like leaving your job, starting a new venture, that's stressful in itself. And then dealing with all of that stuff on top of that.
So the peak of my kind of like OCD, anxiety, etc., was actually the year before, so in 2021.
Okay.
It really festered itself during lockdown, as it did with a lot of people.
Imagine, yeah, for sure.
But I've got a family history of mental health, so I was called a sitting duck, basically. Like it was going to fester and it was going to come out at some point, but as to where that trigger would be, no one really kind of knew yet.
Being locked in your house for 2 years will do that to you though, right?
Yeah.
If you're waiting for a trigger, there's one.
You know, you think, oh God, but...
We're not going to go into the politics of that, by the way, because that's a fucking completely different podcast with a can of worms that I definitely do not want to open. But...
Yeah, no, it definitely wasn't fun, and I did really struggle. I can kind of laugh and joke about it now, but I was in a really, really bad place, and I thought I was never going to be normal again. Like, it did nearly ruin my relationship, but not because my boyfriend's an asshole. It's actually far from. It's actually because it was me. I was such a bitch. That's the only way that I can describe it, is I was a real moody, snappy bitch, and I didn't want to be around anyone. I wouldn't let anyone touch me. So my relationship suffered with my boyfriend, with my family, with my friends. So then last year was probably the right time for me to go on my own adventure, because I'd come out the other side of it.
Okay.
So I was in a better space to do so. Otherwise, there's no way I could have done it.
Yeah.
No way. Would have been a nightmare.
Oh, I can imagine. Like starting your own business is stressful enough, let alone like, you know, putting all of that stuff on top of it as well.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that I don't think I realised about having your own business as well. Like, I didn't even know you had to register to be self-employed. I thought just you leave.
You'll be way past that now though, won't you?
Yeah.
You're a limited company now.
Yeah, director.
Oh, look at you.
You know,
did you feel buzzing when you got the letter?
I told everyone. Everyone.
Yeah, it's only 12 quid, you know.
Honestly, I was actually pure buzzing. Like, I could not believe it. But it's more the fact that it just feels quite cool. Get my own Costco card, all that jazz. So.
Yeah. No, I loved it when I first got, because it looks dead official, doesn't it? When it comes through like director of, and you're like,
I know.
I'm a fucking director.
Like when I type into my phone company's house, you can just see the amount of times that I've searched like Live Fit Coaching, Live Fit Coaching, Live Fit Coaching.
That's good though. What did your parents think of that? Like, because obviously to register, if you're listening to this and you don't understand what we're talking about, basically when Liv's not got any staff yet, right? Just yourself.
Yeah.
But you class yourself as a sole trader for tax purposes because that's what you are. You're a sole trader. However, when you start to grow your company beyond a certain amount, it becomes more efficient for you to register yourself as a limited company. You get certain protections as well on that. Obviously, it separates your personal liability from your company liability. And when you get to a point of like having staff and things like that, it makes things much easier to kind of handle rather than using kind of a sole trade to do that vehicle. And so Liv's obviously got to a point, past the point where you register as a sole trader where it becomes efficient to do that. And that's somewhere in the region of like the 50 or 60K a year mark. So to do that, unless you've just fucking registered a company and paid the 12 quid for the sake of it, to actually have to register as a company director to make things more efficient for you means that you've literally built a business to a point where you're doing 50, 60 grand a year plus.
Yeah.
So that I can see how getting that document through is kind of like...
It was huge.
Yeah.
It was huge. I mean...
And at 24, because I always forget how young some of you lot are. And like, I think like, I'm 31 now. When I was 24, I was a fucking moron. Lots of people would argue I'm still a moron now, but at least I'm a slightly better paid moron. But yeah, at 24, like I couldn't fathom making 50, 60 grand.
Yeah, I think I didn't really realise it was happening quite so quickly as well. You know, I was even looking at January, my expenses were so expensive, they were extortionate. And I was like, what on earth is... It was just a big month, right? I had a lot of travelling for work and things like that. And I compared it to last year, and my expenses were more than what I had earned up within the first 3 months of like being completely self-employed. I thought, wow, I've come such a long way in such a short amount of time for me to be thinking, wow, those expenses are huge, but I can afford to have those as expenses. Like, that's big. I'm happy with that. I'd rather have high expenses and it being put back into the business and me getting better and
they're
my
choice
clients being
expenses
happy.
though. They're not like standard expenses of the business. Like you wouldn't have a huge expense bill every single month, right?
No, it's all sort of the same kind of things.
It's like, this is money I want to spend on this part of the business because
exactly.
I want to.
Yeah, like I wouldn't. I think that's the best thing you can ever do is actually invest into the business. I feel bad sometimes spending the money on myself. That's something that I find hard, is spending the money that I've earned through the business on like going clothes shopping.
Yeah, it's probably a good habit to get into though, because some people do the opposite and then...
I'm not like I won't do a big ASOS haul.
Yeah.
It stresses me out. Send it all back. Klarna, can't do it. It's gone.
How have your parents kind of found it then? Or how have your whole family found it? Because obviously from what you were saying, it sounds like you had a pretty rough lockdown.
Yeah.
It's a fairly short amount of time, right? A couple of years.
Yeah.
To go from where you were basically like being on furlough and obviously dealing with all those issues you were dealing with to, making 60K plus a year. Big move that in 2 years. Not a lot of people manage that.
I mean, to be honest with you, I actually don't talk that much about work at home. When I come out of my little cubby hole and I go downstairs, I'm actually a little bit too exhausted to answer questions. Sure. Someone will say, how's work today? And I say, yeah, good. Or I just, it went well. I don't really want to talk about it. Not because it's bad, but just I want that separation. Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously they're very proud of me, 100%, because like they will go to we go to a lot of family parties, right? And sometimes the conversation that goes on. What
does Liv do?
Yeah.
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 Especially when they're both doctors as well.
And but my parents are so supportive of all of us, never, ever, ever pushed us into anything apart from the sport. Obviously,
do you think your parents, though, thought you could get as far as you've gotten?
As a PT?
In this direction. I'm assuming they saw a lot in you when you were younger, but like, did they think the pathway would get you there? Must have a little bit because he spent 20 grand. And not to keep going on about the 20 grand shed, but
yeah, I mean, they must have done. I think where I had been in sport for 12 years of my life, like I'm 24 now, so really that's over half my life that I was in sport. I've been coached by every single type of coach possible. I've had coaches who got the best out of me. I've got coaches who brought out the worst in me, coaching styles that wrecked me. So I've been through a lot of different ways of coaching and different ways of almost like training as well. Mm-hmm. The discipline, commitment. I'm 7-8 years old and I'm going from school to training for 4 hours after. That's not normal.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Like, it's not. So I think they probably saw it as a natural path as well, but in the same way as me, didn't really think that much into it. It was almost too obvious.
Yeah. That's really interesting though, just to think like of that whole shift. They've clearly, you know, you've not got a great shot at fucking, you do gymnastics, right? Your shot at making the Olympics is like,
oh yeah.
So that's like, your parents sound like they've had a lot of belief in you since you were a kid, basically.
Yeah, definitely. I've got a lot to thank them for sure.
You still live at home now?
Yeah.
I would. I tell
Love
loads of people that. Like, I was making like 150 grand a year living at my mum's house.
Oh, honestly, I'm so.
Do you know how
here
much a
for
maid
it.
is nowadays? I don't know how much a maid is, but I bet
No.
it wasn't as much as I paid at home for my mum to do all my washing and my cooking and my cleaning.
Honestly, I love it. I'll sit on the sofa with my mum under the blanket, watch a film with the dogs. I'm like, this is great. This is the life. So yeah, I mean, I enjoy living at home.
There's nothing wrong with it. I just used to like get spiky, you know, and like you see people post on Facebook. This is the first problem that I was looking at what people were posting on Facebook. You know, and like, yeah, when lads say this, but then they live at home with the mum, and I'm thinking, I live at home with my mum, and I am more than your dad does.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things, isn't it?
Yeah.
What are the next steps then for you? Where do you want to take Liv Jones? What's it called? Liv Jones Coaching?
Not quite. Live fit.
Live fit. Live fit. Oh, I like it.
I know, it's got a good ring to it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Live Fit Coaching.
Where's it going? What's your vision for it?
My vision, when I move out from home, I would like to have my own little studio. That's mine.
Can you not set
and
the shed
have
where
coaches. You know what? It'd be good if I could just pick it up, put enough money into it, right? Whoops. But be able to like hire coaches. For me personally, I want to...
Yeah, you can't really hire someone to go around your mum and dad's gaff and you're like, this is Libby, she's going to be letting herself in 4 times a week.
I would like, for me personally, I do want to build a big online business. I'm happy with the way that my online's going, and it has grown a lot within the last 4 or 5 months. I know this is probably maybe a bit of a female thing, I don't know, but I'm thinking in my mind, in 5 years' time, when hopefully I have my own family, I don't want to be limited as to how much I can earn or how much work I can do, because I have to be doing a very manual job. I want to be able to still be earning money, still be funding myself and not rely on anyone else, and support a family.
Mm-hmm. And
also be able to kind of just like, I want to be able to do a ski season, but not have to work in one of the grubby like bars.
Yeah.
I want to be able to go and drink in the bars, ski and work.
Yeah.
Like that's the dream for me. That'd be nice.
Depends where you go skiing, doesn't it? You go Val d'Isère, you might need a little bit more money if you want to go.
I'm a Val d'Isère girl.
I don't go skiing.
No.
Do I look like I grew up
knees?
skiing? Nah, I'm from North Manchester.
I only started skiing like 4 years ago.
People where I'm from don't go skiing.
We
don't go skiing.
Maybe.
No.
Is that a Surrey thing?
But you don't go skiing. You have a pedal bike. That's it.
Okay.
Skiing.
Well, you know.
To be fair, we went in school. School went, but I don't know. The idea of like just throwing myself down a mountain probably never really appealed to me.
No.
I think the crippling fear of heights obviously
that might be a bit of an issue. Yeah, fairs.
And narrow things. So things that are narrow and high.
And have an edge.
Not a fan.
Fall off and die.
Well, that's what my brain does
morbid,
every fucking second that I'm there. That's why I don't do it.
Okay, fair enough.
So you want to do a ski season. I'll tell you what though, if you think about how, like, this is what I always say to people with like building these kind of businesses, like any online business really, obviously we work in fitness, so we always look at it with a fitness lens, but like, what other job can you have where like, you know, a year ago you were fucking working in Nuffield, like cashing a check, to now being in the position that you're in? That's what, 12 months? Imagine 36 months, even 24 months.
Totally.
Like you're just learning.
Yeah.
Like you are still getting to grips with the basics of running a business, and you are already making the kind of money that you're making. Imagine when you actually really, no one's good at anything in a year. No one. Your business might be successful, but you're not brilliant. You can't be, because you've not even done it long enough. Like you've only been, you know, maybe you've done a bit of marketing before, so you might have picked it up a little bit quicker than some people, right? But you've only been practicing running a business for 12 months.
Yeah.
So in the grand scheme of things, you're quite shit at still running a business.
Yeah, totally.
So I think about the same thing. Like I think about it in the same way. Like I was a school teacher, 5 years ago? Right? There's people that have forgot way more about business than I have.
Yeah.
I'm lucky that I'm must be somehow naturally quite talented at this. But like, I've still got fucking loads to learn about stuff.
Yeah.
It's quite scary. It's quite scary that you've gotten as far as you've gotten on the amount of current knowledge that you've got. If you apply and keep learning at the rate that you are for the next 2.5 years, imagine where you'll be by the time you're nearly 30.
Hopefully in a stunning place.
Well, it's sickening, isn't it, really, if you think about it? Some people, like your parents both went to university for 7 years.
Yeah.
To probably come out and bag 24 grand in the first year.
Maybe, I don't know, but yeah.
Well, that's probably, junior doctors are
on average
massively underpaid. It's one of the massive things that's going on.
Yeah.
I think I try not to watch the news as much because it seems to be bad news all the time. But like, I'm pretty sure junior doctors start on a fucking
pretty
quite appalling wage. So to go to university for 7 years, basically qualify as probably one of the most intelligent people in that crop of, you only get into university to do medicine if you're fucking very, very clever. And then you only pass medicine if you're fucking really, really clever. So to think about that, what age they were at when they came out of university.
Oh, totally.
And
where I'm at now.
Yeah, compared to that.
I mean, not because I'm, this might sound like a bit odd to people, a bit bad, but my goal is to earn more than my boyfriend.
Yeah.
Like that to me is a real really want to do it, but not in the sense of competitiveness or anything. He
Depends
actually
what your
thinks
boyfriend does.
He's in software engineering.
You're fucked. Nah, to be fair.
I mean, we're pretty much on equal ground already, and he went to, he's been to uni for 3 years.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
He's been in placement, he's been working.
I'm only joking because tech sometimes just silly.
I know how much he's like, I've seen some of the job applications.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I'm like, I know that my potential is to be above and beyond that.
Yeah.
It's not like I've got a cap on myself, so why not? If I want to be financially stable within my own right and never ever have to rely on a guy, independent, Yeah.
Is that the right way of clicking?
I mean, sure we can roll with that.
Yeah. Cool. Right. So what advice would you give to people then who think for you are in a bit of a rut in a job that they don't really want to be in? How would you go about encouraging them to take the steps to do something that they want to do?
I genuinely think that if you really do love what you love and love what you think you want to do, that the best thing you can do is just go for it. And that is not to say that it's easy, because it definitely isn't. But you are going to succeed so much more doing something that you love, because you will put your absolute everything into it. I work long hours because I want to. I'll work at weekends literally because I want to, and I enjoy doing so. Just go and do it. Don't ponder around with it. Oh, I'll do it once I'm stable enough in that job and I've got this. You've just got to go 100% in, because you'll never get what you want out otherwise. Perfect. And where can people find you if they want to have a look at the next 3 years of your life when you take on your partner as a software engineer and I should do that, shouldn't I? Do a skiing season? Instagram at pt.live. Classic. Yeah. So easy, isn't it? Brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you. Ta.